My girlfriend, F28, pressures me, M30, to get married. What should I do? At the age of 30, standing at the crossroads of life's significant decisions, I find myself grappling with an internal dilemma. The woman I have spent 2 transformative years with, a partner who is now as much a part of my life as my own daily routines, is eager, almost insistent on taking our relationship to the next stage. At 28, she is ready for marriage and dreams of the moment I propose. Her urgency is palpable, a sentiment she doesn't shy away from expressing. It's not as though the thought hasn't crossed my mind, it has, countless times. Yet, each time I envision it, a cascade of doubts arises, unraveling my resolve like a fragile thread pulled too taut. Our relationship is not without its merits, far from it. There are moments when I feel as though the universe has conspired to bring us together, as though the quirks we share are too peculiar, too unique, to have aligned by sheer chance. From the very beginning, there was an ease to our connection, a symphony of shared eccentricities that bound us. The nights spent obsessively immersed in board games, transforming each roll of the dice into a playful battleground, remain some of the fondest memories I hold. There's a certain magic in how we can converse for hours in ridiculous accents, turning the mundane into something extraordinary. Her sense of humor, her uninhibited laughter, these are not just traits but treasures that I've come to cherish. In a world that often feels too rigid, too measured, she is the delightful anarchy I didn't know I needed. Beyond the laughter and the lightness, there's a sense of compatibility that runs deeper. We share similar educational backgrounds and career aspirations, which has lent a harmonious balance to our financial and intellectual lives. There's no tug-of-war over who earns more or who contributes less. It's a partnership built on mutual respect and equality. When we discuss complex topics or engage in debates about the world, I often find myself marveling at the depth of her insights, at how seamlessly her thoughts align with mine. This equilibrium in our professional lives, coupled with our shared vision for the future children, a stable home, and the simple joys of life, paints a picture of a union that, on paper, seems idyllic. Her family, too, has become an unexpected blessing. From the very first meeting, they welcomed me with open arms, their warmth a reflection of the values she was raised with. Holidays, family dinners, and casual visits have turned into a tapestry of fond memories, where I feel not just accepted but truly valued. It's a rare gift to feel at home with your partner's family, to sense that they root for your happiness as much as their daughters. And yet, even with these myriad positives, a shadow of uncertainty looms. Relationships, I've come to understand, are not defined solely by the highs but are often tested in the depths of their lows. This understanding makes me pause and question, are the great moments enough? Can the shared laughter, the harmony, and the familial love outweigh the cracks that have begun to form beneath the surface? The truth is, perfection is a myth. No partnership is devoid of flaws, and I have long since resigned myself to the idea of loving someone despite their imperfections. But settling for a life where those imperfections dominate the narrative, that's a fear I cannot shake. It's why I find myself meticulously listing the pros and cons, hoping that by laying it all out, clarity might somehow emerge. Will the strength of what we share carry us through the storms, or are there rifts that even the best intentions cannot mend? For now, as I stand at the precipice of what could either be the most joyous chapter of my life or one of lingering regret, I am searching not just for answers, but for the wisdom to discern what my heart truly wants and the courage to act upon it. The downsides of our relationship, though fewer in number, carry a weight far greater than the positives. They are the kind of issues that keep me awake at night, replaying scenarios and asking myself questions I don't have answers to. Chief among them are her struggles with mental health, anxiety, and an overwhelming fear of abandonment that seem to have woven themselves into the fabric of our relationship. Her anxiety manifests in ways that are not just challenging but, at times, deeply unsettling. When she feels threatened or insecure, her reaction is explosive. Objects are thrown, doors are slammed, and anger fills the air like an uncontrollable storm. In these moments, I become the anchor, desperately trying to calm her down, to steady the ship before it capsizes. But it comes at a cost: my time, my energy, and often my own mental well-being. What makes it harder is the unpredictability of these episodes. They come unannounced, often at the most inconvenient times, such as late at night when all I want is a few hours of rest before another grueling day at work. There have been nights where her outbursts have stretched into the early hours, leaving me drained and emotionally exhausted. I've learned to tiptoe around certain topics, avoiding anything that might trigger her fears. One particular instance remains etched in my memory. It was a quiet evening, and we were getting ready for bed. I casually mentioned the idea of moving closer to my workplace to cut down on my 90-minute commute. It was a practical suggestion, one that I thought could improve our daily lives. But the moment the words left my mouth, her demeanor changed entirely. She erupted, screaming and accusing me of wanting to distance myself from her. Doors slammed, objects were flung, and for the next 3 hours, we were trapped in a cycle of her rage and my attempts to de-escalate. I tried to explain, to reassure her, but my words fell on deaf ears. By the time the storm subsided, the night was almost gone, and I was left wondering how such a simple conversation could spiral so wildly out of control. These episodes are not just exhausting, they are isolating. I've started holding back parts of myself, censoring my thoughts and feelings because I fear her reaction. The inability to openly share my concerns or aspirations has created an invisible barrier between us, one that grows thicker with every outburst. And then there's the impact on our intimacy. I still find her as beautiful as the day we met: her smile, her laugh, the way her eyes light up when she's happy. But the anger, the volatility, has taken a toll on my desire. It's not that I don't love her, I do. But love and physical attraction are not always synonymous. Over the past year, I've noticed a steady decline in my ability to feel connected to her in that way. Her angry outbreaks linger in my mind, overshadowing the moments of tenderness and making it difficult to be vulnerable. I want to feel that spark again, to rekindle the passion we once had, but it feels like an uphill battle, one I'm not sure I have the strength to fight. This loss of intimacy is something I've tried to ignore, hoping it's a phase, something that will pass with time. But deep down, I know it's more than that. It's a symptom of a larger issue, one that neither of us seems equipped to address. And as much as I want to believe that love is enough to overcome these challenges, the cracks in our relationship make me question whether that's true. The fear that this pattern might continue indefinitely, that it could define our marriage if I decide to propose, is a thought I can't shake. Would a ring on her finger truly ease her fears, or would it only provide temporary relief before the cycle begins anew? These are the questions that haunt me as I weigh the decision before me. The sacrifices we have both made for this relationship are a constant undercurrent, silently brewing tension between us. On the surface, it might seem like a natural part of being in a partnership: give and take, compromise, and finding common ground. But for us, it feels different. There's a lingering sense that neither of us truly feels seen or appreciated for what we've given up. Instead of these sacrifices bringing us closer, they have become an unspoken battleground, where resentment quietly grows. For my part, I've made significant adjustments to align our lives. I moved to an affluent part of the city to live closer to her family and to embrace the high-rise lifestyle she cherishes. It's not just the physical move but the shift in how I envisioned my life. In my ideal world, I'd live in a quieter, low-key neighborhood with a backyard, a place where I could unwind after long days at work. I've also passed up job opportunities that could have advanced my career, simply because taking them would have meant moving farther away from where we are now. While I can't say I regret choosing her over those opportunities, there are moments when I wish she could acknowledge the weight of these decisions. But that acknowledgement never comes, or if it does, it feels perfunctory. Instead, she holds tightly to her own narrative of sacrifice. She believes she has made equally significant concessions for our relationship, though to me, they seem less tangible. When she talks about what she's given up, it often revolves around her social life or how she's adjusted to living with me. I don't doubt that these things matter to her. but they don't feel equivalent to the structural changes I've had to make in my life. The imbalance gnaws at me, not because I need validation for what I've done, but because her lack of acknowledgement leaves me feeling unappreciated and undervalued. Beyond the sacrifices, there are her character traits, some of which are more than just quirks and feel more like glaring red flags. Trust is a cornerstone of any relationship, and while I want to trust her completely, her actions make it difficult. I've caught her lying on more than one occasion. Sometimes they are small lies, the kind that could almost be brushed off as inconsequential, but other times they're more significant. One incident that still bothers me is when I found her going through my old personal letters. These were private, sentimental pieces of my past that I had never shared with anyone, and seeing her rifling through them felt like a violation. She brushed it off when I confronted her, claiming she was curious and didn't mean any harm, but it left a scar. It wasn't just about the letters, it was about the boundaries she crossed without hesitation. This lack of respect for my privacy extends into other areas of my life as well. She knows far too much about my ex-girlfriends, not because I've shared the details, but because she's looked them up online. She scoured their social media profiles, piecing together information that I would never have volunteered. It's invasive, and while I understand her curiosity or insecurity, it feels controlling. It's as though she needs to possess every aspect of my past, leaving no room for me to have parts of my life that are solely mine. Her relationships with others are equally troubling. She's had serious fallouts with 2 previous roommates, and from what I've gathered, she doesn't acknowledge any fault on her part. With one of them, it's painfully clear to me that she was in the wrong. But bringing it up is out of the question. Doing so would ignite another firestorm. Instead, I'm expected to take her side unconditionally, even going so far as to act cold or unfriendly when we occasionally cross paths with that former roommate. It puts me in an awkward position, forcing me to participate in a narrative I don't fully believe in. And then there's her shopping addiction. While it hasn't reached the point of being financially ruinous, it's a constant source of irritation. Our apartment is filled with things, clothes, knickknacks, and gadgets that we don't need and rarely use. Every available space seems to be taken up by her purchases, and the clutter feels suffocating. When I bring it up, she downplays it, insisting it's harmless. But to me, it's more than just clutter. It's a manifestation of something deeper, an impulse she can't seem to control, a need to fill some void that shopping temporarily soothes. All of these traits, her disregard for my sacrifices, her invasive curiosity, her unresolved conflicts, and her compulsive habits paint a picture of someone I'm not sure I can build a stable future with. These aren't just small issues that can be glossed over, they are fundamental aspects of who she is. And while I love her, I find myself questioning whether love alone is enough to overcome these challenges. Would these traits become even more magnified in a marriage, or would they mellow with time and effort? It's a gamble, and the stakes feel impossibly high. I'm at a complete loss. Each day, the weight of this decision feels heavier, as though the clock is ticking louder with every passing moment. Her pressure to propose has become a near-constant drumbeat in our lives, and while it comes from a place of love and longing, it feels suffocating. I do love her deeply. That much is undeniable. She is someone I care about profoundly, someone whose pain and fears I want to ease. Yet, despite that love, my doubts refuse to fade. Instead, they grow louder, more insistent, forcing me to confront them. The red flags are not trivial. They are vivid and glaring, impossible to ignore. I've tried to imagine a future with her, one where we are married, where we've built a life together. But instead of picturing joy and harmony, I see the challenges that already weigh on us magnified. The mental health struggles that make our relationship feel like an emotional minefield could become even more consuming. Her moments of rage, her anxiety, her fear of abandonment, would they improve over time, or would they tighten their grip on her, and by extension, on me? It's a gamble, with the stakes being the rest of my life. And yet, part of me wonders if marriage could bring her the stability she craves. Her past, being cheated on, The emotional scars of her parents temporarily leaving her have created a deep-rooted fear that she carries into every aspect of our relationship. Moving in together seemed to ease some of those fears. I saw a noticeable change in her. For a while, she seemed lighter, more at peace. Could proposing, putting a ring on her finger, give her the reassurance she so desperately needs? But what if it doesn't? What if it only provides temporary relief before the insecurities resurface? What if the pressure to fix her emotional wounds becomes an unbearable burden, one that slowly erodes my own sense of self? I fear being trapped in a situation where my love for her is overshadowed by the challenges of navigating her mental health, where the sacrifices I've made feel endless and unreciprocated. Comparing this relationship to those I've had in the past only deepens my confusion. In many ways, she has her life far more together than anyone I've been with before. Her professional life is solid, her intelligence is admirable, and her ability to plan for the future is something I deeply respect. But when it comes to the way I feel truly, deeply feel, I am perhaps the least happy I've ever been in a relationship. And that's not easy to admit, even to myself. Loving someone doesn't always equate to happiness, and that realization is as painful as it is illuminating. I've found myself searching for answers, for guidance, for a sign that will point me in the right direction. Has anyone else been here before? Faced with a choice so fraught with complexity and emotion that it feels paralyzing? What did they do, and how did it shape their lives? Did they regret walking away, or did they regret staying? I yearn for clarity, for the perspective of someone who has stood at a similar crossroads and lived to tell the tale. Ultimately, I am faced with two possibilities. The first is to take the leap, to propose, to trust that our love is strong enough to weather the storms and that her issues can be managed with time, effort, and perhaps professional help. The second is to walk away, to risk breaking both our hearts in the hopes of finding a future that feels more balanced, more secure, more right. Neither path feels easy. Both are shrouded in uncertainty. But one thing is clear, I cannot remain where I am now, frozen by indecision. The time has come to choose. Whether I take the risk of deepening our bond or the pain of severing it, I must act. Because staying in this limbo, caught between love and doubt, is no longer sustainable. I just hope, whichever choice I make, that I can live with it and that it leads to the life I truly want, whether that life is with her or without her.